Right, I'm going to start us. So 5 o'clock in the UK, 1 o'clock with you, I think, Joe. Oh no, you're 9 a.m., aren't you? Sorry.
9, yeah, I'm on the West Coast here.
Okay. And then 1 o'clock for people on the East Coast. Hello to everybody. Nice to see you all. So today's Shiny it's kind of like the director's clinic that we did about a month ago, which is we don't have any VIP guests or VIP industry guests. We have VIP director guests. There's more like a community chat about stuff that's important to you as directors, and we're theming this one as awards. I've heard quite a few comments from directors actually and production companies, people in production companies, talking about awards that are expensive. People don't really know why they keep entering them. They're not sure what the benefit is. And of course, there's stories all the time of people entering awards that don't actually exist and getting written off. So we're going to have a chat here. The people that I'm going to go to first of all are the people that I know are shortlisted from last time, like Joe. I think Joe's the only person, I think you're the only person in here at the moment actually from the shortlist. Yeah, you are. So Joe, let's start off with
Sure.
why have you entered any awards?
Yeah, absolutely. Prior to this commercial that you guys selected a few weeks ago, I've made 2 short films that, we went through the whole festival submission process and then submitting to a few different online platforms. So, most of my experience and what I think I have to share is probably going to be based on those experiences.
Okay, well let's kick off with those. Let's go all the
Sure.
way through those stories. What were they festivals or awards? Why did you enter them?
Sure. Yeah, I think I started out with a couple of short films as I was, just getting started as a filmmaker, and I think the most important kind of point that I want to make about this topic that you've selected is to me the most valuable thing about submitting for festivals or submitting to an online platform like Shiny is finding a way to measure yourself and to measure your progress. Less so, I think, compared to other people that you may be in competition with, but simply just in comparison to yourself. And if you make a short film and enter it into 20 festivals and see how many you get into, and then make another short film a year later and enter it into 20 festivals and see how many you get into, you start to kind of build a gauge just for yourself. And I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to this platform, is that not only do I get to see the just yes or no, are you selected or whatever, but you actually create a score. You actually created a numerical system of evaluating these different submissions, combined with the critiques, which are super informative and precise and always very thorough. And I just finding a way to see where you're at, gauge yourself, and then try to work towards improving your work, I think is valuable in and of itself. And then beyond that, with festivals, you make relationships. If you can go to the festivals, the ones that you can go to, the ones that are good, and there's definitely some ones that are just not worth the time. But the ones that are good, you make some relationships. And I've made more relationships with other filmmakers than I would say I've made with industry executives or things like that. But those relationships have been helpful. It's been good to know a few folks and reach out to them for, I need an editor for this thing. I need somebody to, somebody who does color, somebody who does good graphics work. And so it's helpful simply for that reason as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Pat. So two big things that I was picking up out of that were that sense of what other people think about your work and where you are in the industry. Do people think you're great? On the whole, do people think you're nearly there, but you know, keep on trying or whatever? And the other thing that you're picking up there is making relationships with people and connecting and hooking up.
Definitely.
There are some other directors that have come in that were shortlisted, and also I'm going to ask James Green if he'd like to say something, because James has been featured before. I'll ask Cleo to, well, anyone who wants to say something, feel free to flag it up in chat. But James, what's your experience of submitting work to festivals? Because I know you're someone who's won quite a few awards as well.
Yeah, it's I mean, it can be hit and miss, obviously. I've been lucky enough to win a few things and get nominated for a few things, but I've also, you know, not even been mentioned on many of the awards that I've entered. So like, you've just got to be prepared that, you know, you just got to throw things at a wall and hope that a few stick. Like, there are going to be a few that come back, and you know, you won't get everything you enter. And I think it's just trying to grow like a thick skin and just kind of taking that as part of the process. Like, you're not going to get everything. That's never going to be the case, but that's not a case to give up. Like, you should always just keep throwing, you know, just keep entering, keep throwing your work out there, and eventually one will stick, and then hopefully that'll be the one that kind of gets you somewhere, I guess.
Okay. What are you aiming for when you enter work into awards? What are you hoping to get?
I think it's just, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I think like at my level, because I'm not signed or anything like that. So I think at my level, it's more just like just getting the work itself out there and getting my name out there, just to try and establish myself as a director a little bit more.
Okay.
And obviously, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Does that mean that the people who are judging, is that something that you take into account when you're looking at a festival?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's always good to check who the jurors are and who's going to be judging the work, and like, you know, who's maybe sponsoring the awards themselves, and just try and think like, you know, are these companies or people that I would like to get my name, you know, under their noses? And if so, then, you know, it's worth a shot, I guess, really. And even just things like how big they've got, like a, you know, if they've got a big Instagram following, or if they've got like a big Twitter following, like all those things really help, you know, like even if they just tweet one of your pieces, like if they've got a fan base of over like 10K or something, then, you know, that's a lot of eyes that are going to be on your work suddenly, which is, you know, depending on how much it costs to enter awards, there's always pros and cons. So
yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the point about sponsors, because of course sponsors want to be seen as very sympathetic to whatever festival they're sponsoring, and they want to share some of that aura, I guess. Oh, there you are. Hello. So it's interesting to notice that people who are entering the award take notice of who the sponsor is as well. So what does that mean to you when you see a sponsor? What are you thinking about that sponsor?
I don't know. I guess it just either gives that award company just a little bit more weight and gravitas. Like if these are big, you know, companies that I'm aware of and that do great work for the industry, like seeing them support in sometimes a non-profit organization or an awards agency, like it kind of gives that company that's sponsoring them a bit of gravitas and kind of makes them seem a bit more cool and kind of in the public eye and stuff. Sorry, yeah. I'm rambling.
No, that's great. Thank you. So Delia, she's one of the shortlisted directors from October. Come in and tell us about tell us whether tell us which awards you've gone in for, whether you won them or not, and what kind of difference it's made to your career. If that's relevant for you, it might not be. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I think that for me, it's the thing is that because I started as a fashion photographer, the first thing that I did were fashion films. Mm-hmm. So I was mostly into the fashion film festival circuit in a way. That thing is kind of tricky because you have very good fashion film festivals, which are really few. And this thing really depends about the sponsor, because fashion film festival is something kind of new, and so it really depends about who the sponsor is. So, for example, the Milan Film Festival is fashion film festival is quite good. The London is good now, but like 5-8 years ago, it was really not so good because it doesn't have the right sponsors. It's not really, it's kind of, it's a difficult product because the fashion film can contain anything. It could be like a music video, it could be like a show film, it could be anything. So like for me, this thing changed when I started to submit to less fashion film festival, but to the best one in a way.
Okay. So what makes a sponsor a wrong sponsor from a filmmaker's point of view?
I don't think I can think about the bad sponsor. I think about when, I mean, sometimes the sponsor has no relationship with the kind of festival is in, because you have the sponsor Mercedes for a fashion film festival. And so the thing is kind of like, you can see an interested sponsor. So the thing is maybe tricky because you need, I mean, it's just advertising sometimes.
Okay.
I think this.
So so in your experience, you've moved from quite specialized festivals, which at the beginning weren't so good anyway, although they've become good, but you've started entering your work into a broader field of broader genres of festival now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not so much. I mean, I'm really like, I'm starting now working with a guy who does he does the promotion of everything. So he's the one who sent everything to the festival. Because for me, I'm not really, I mean, sometimes there is something like Shiny or like the 1.4 awards, which I'm interested in. It's more into the field. I like the production, who they're working with. So I send them, but I don't really have the eye to do all by myself. So sometimes it's better to work with someone.
That's a very good point, actually, and because is that Nico Montanari? That
Exactly.
your guy.
Yeah. Like we live close. Like it's it's really across the street. Yeah, like it's family. It's not in Berlin, but when it's here, it's really close.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, there's other people here might have worked with specialist marketers as well. So if you have, do flag it up in chat. It would be great to get your opinions about that as well, because of course that's another cost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you, sorry, I'm not going to ask you about making a strategy because it's Nico that will have put the strategy together. But what kind of thing are you hoping for when you're entering an award? What's the end game for you?
I think that the end game is to show the product to someone who is close to the product in a way. I mean, I think that's better to select the festivals and not just to go random, again, as I said before. So I think that, yes, I may be interested in some connection. And when I'm interested in a connection, for example, with production or producer or collaborator, I don't necessarily choose someone who already does what I do.
Okay.
But rather someone close, but not exactly what I do, because they may have like in their roster someone that's exactly the same. So I don't think it's clever. And also connection with anyone. I mean, the social part is the best one. You can I mean, Nicola, I met him at a festival, the festival in London that wasn't great, but I met him there. So it's really like people.
Okay. So this is all about extending your networks for you and growing your networks. Lovely, thank you. So I have a question here from someone. I wonder if I can say her name. She doesn't, it's from Anchor, who has asked if I can read this out. Is it better to enter festivals near you where you can go in person and focus on networking? Or is it more important to have your work shown in bigger festivals, even if you can't attend them, and focus on being able to say your work was screened there as a branding tool? So let's assume we've all been vaccinated and we're not going to die by getting together. What do you think? I suppose it depends on what your end game is, isn't it? So for Delia, I suppose it's going to be places where you can meet people.
Yeah.
Would you let's move on to another person. So Pat is in the room, who is a shortlisted director from, no, he's a winning director from October. So Pat, do you want to come on and tell us whether you've entered any awards at all? Because I know you're a bit of a you're not a new filmmaker, but you're certainly new on the circuit, to me anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough to win an award, one of the first festivals that I've entered, Queens World Film Festival in New York, obviously. And so my experience was, I mean, it was good. That they put on a good showcase. They had a good Q&A after the films. My takeaway was that when you win, people are interested, right? Especially industry people, they come up to you. And I think that being my first short film, I didn't take advantage of that. So every contact that I made, or anyone that talked to me that day or after the film, I don't keep in contact. I lost contact because that was just a learning mistake, right? I think in any situation, even if you don't win, like, networking is key, right? I think at that time I was just like naive, just like, oh yeah, thank you. You know, if people show interest, that means that they're probably reaching out. They want to maybe see what you're going to do in the future, right? Or maybe collaborate or something. But I looked at it as just congratulations. Oh, congratulations is that. Here's my contact information. Here's my number. Here's my email. And I was like, oh, thank you. And that was it. So I think I made a mistake of just moving on from that. And so now I learned that lesson. But haven't won anything since then, other than this, of course, the Shiny Awards, which was great too.
I think you made a really good point there about I'm sure loads of people enter festivals and or enter awards and then find out that they've won or they've shortlisted, and it's all really exciting, and then it kind of disappears because maybe a lot of, I'm sure I would have been like that first time around as well. Just the excitement of winning just seems to be the point of it. But actually, there's a load of clever things that you can do if you've won an award or been shortlisted for award.
Right. I think that's the strategy you have to have too. Even if you don't win, I think reaching out and connecting with people is key, of course. You know, but especially if you do win, that's like for sure. Like you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to say overwhelmed. I think it was, I don't know what I was going for as a director at the time, or I think maybe I was underwhelmed. I think I was just happy that I was there and the film was on a big screen, right? And New York, so I mean, I don't live there, so a few friends came out to see, so I was excited that they're there. I just wanted to hang out with them afterwards, like, woo, you know, we got to see the film on the big screen. And so I think that was probably where my focus and my mindset was at. Yeah. So afterwards, all this, the network, it didn't hit me until maybe like months afterwards. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I made a mistake and just like.
Well, maybe we're talking about the value of hooking up with a producer here, because maybe directors aren't necessarily always created to think of the marketing opportunities, whereas producers often are. I've seen Nicholas and Christina have come into the chat, and they've both either been featured guests or they've been very highly scored directors. So Nicholas and Christina, whoever gets to the screen first, can you tell us how you have made, because I know you both work with other people beyond yourself, so you have a team, maybe you have your own producers. How have you utilized a win before, or a mention, Christina or Nicholas, or anyone who's won and done something clever with it?
Well, I'll say that.
Hello.
Oh.
Oh, we're both here.
Christine, that's you.
Hello. Yes, it's a different time zone over here. Yeah, no, I recently got the Berlin Commercial Awards. Was something that was pretty awesome, just because I think the judging and the work that's being seen there. I was nominated for one of the Next Generation Awards, and I just think it's a good calling card. I think it's a good way to get your work seen, but also to kind of use it as a way to start conversations with other reps in other locations. So that's kind of how I'm using it currently, is just a nice, easy way to start the conversation and expand my network of producers and reps. So
can you spell it out for us, Christina? So there you are in COVID. So you've got your computer as your portal to the world. Do you write out an email to a rep that you'd like to connect with? And in the subject line, do you say, would love to chat, just won a Berlin Commercial Award or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to believe that it's not just about momentum, but at the same time, I think it really is. So I think when you have to just celebrate your own wins, and I think artists and creatives don't do that enough. And so I'm learning to kind of talk myself up in a strange way. And I think as artists, that's why you kind of look to your reps or whomever is, how do they talk about you when you're not in the room? And you kind of have to put that hat on in a way when you're making that first cold intro email to people that you really respect and that you want to, potentially work with in the future. So yeah, I do. I basically put that hat on and say, if it was my best friend talking about me, or how would I talk about myself, and write an email that's honest, but also just, excited and passionate, and reach out to different production companies that I'm looking for representation with in Amsterdam and in London, and just say, hey, by the way, these people think I'm cool, so I don't know if that
intersectionality in here, something that a lot of, and just doing some very broad brushstroke things here, a lot of white men directors in conversations have said things like, hey, you just have to go for it sometimes. What's the worst thing that can happen? You just have to keep going, and just don't let things knock you over. And a lot of women directors that I hear say things like, well, I'm not really sure whether I don't know if I'm ready. I don't want to sound like I'm showing off, blah, 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 blah. So is that a thing that you've noticed yourself doing, perhaps? Or is there something that you'd like to shout out to the sisterhood or something?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I'm trying to find that phrase, which is that, men are hired on, how does it go? Men are hired upon, or women are hired on achievement, and women are hired on, and men are hired upon potential. I totally butchered it, but it's something along those lines, where that has been a thing, but I think because of Free the Work and Free the Bid, it really has shifted things in a way, in terms of, not proving, you're not hired on proof, you're hired on your potential, and they can see that you have the vision. So yeah, I think that has been a little bit of a struggle, and that's kind of where I'm trying in all the ways, and looking at potential ways to just have mentorship programs, because for some reason I just think there is a way that, I mean, this is getting into a whole nother conversation, but just the way that the genders approach their own work and talking about themselves, is completely that's a huge conversation, the gender gap. And so yeah, I mean, absolutely, I think that's something that
if there are any people here that would like to speak who are Black filmmakers,
bye bye.
Color. Oh yeah. Oh, you okay? Bye. And you'd like to talk about your experience, please do chirp up. Because I suspect, I don't know, production companies and reps are so desperate to be seen as really putting their money where their mouth is, where diversity is. I think people, perhaps if you are a person of color with a name that doesn't sound like a posh white person's name, if that doesn't sound like John Smith, I don't know, but you know, if you've got your experience to share, that would be great. But I know that Nicholas Lamb is here now. So Nicholas, if you, I think you fell off the internet for a bit, but I think you're back again.
I'm back.
If you could, hooray! Hi, Nicholas Lamb. So Nicholas, you have a rep. So tell us about your award strategy. Is it something that you've started doing differently now that you're repped by Las Bandas? Does Jen get on that with you?
I think, I mean, what Christina said is super pertinent, and it's definitely good to send out short and sweet emails, you know, to production companies or to reps and saying, you know, I just got this award, or I just did this, you know, such and such work. You know, if there's interest in my work, and if there's space on your roster to discuss possibilities, then, you know, I'd love to pop in for a coffee, or, you know, nowadays a Zoom meeting. But one way I've definitely leveraged, if I got an award or a nomination or something, is to kind of reach out to press outlets. So, you know, in the music video world, that would be Promo News or Video Static. You know, if it's an animation motionographer, or 1.4 or Boom. If it's a commercial, you know, it might be like Little Black Book or Shots or Ad Age, or so to kind of find who.
Well,
yeah.
I remember there's also Stash, which is really good for animation, and in the UK something called David Reviews.
Oh.
But perfect points to make. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so to kind of be your own spokesperson and to reach out, because if some of that gets written up in some of those press outlets, there's a lot of professional eyes on that too.
Yeah. A lot of production companies do a lot of people say they do their scouting on Instagram, but I suspect quite a lot of people do their scouting through trade press, even though they won't necessarily admit to it. Yeah, brilliant. So I've just got my list of questions. How many awards and festivals have you entered in the last 12 months? And yeah, what is your festival strategy? What's your end game?
Me?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the most recent one was the Berlin Music Video Festival, which was just a recent animation I did. But a lot of the awards, it's, at least at this point, it's not even me submitting. Like, for example, you know, this recent video I did got VMA nominated, but that wasn't me submitting. We just heard about it. So I think as far as ones that I know that I could submit to on my own, maybe things like Director's Notes or Director's Library, Berlin Music Video Festival, Camera Image. Yeah, I think some of those that kind of have a little bit of cachet in the music video world, that probably the labels aren't really submitting. Shiny Awards, obviously. Yeah, so I think those would be some of the ones that are within my power to submit to. But I think some of the big, or UK MVA even, I think those.
Yeah, of course, UK MVA actually. I mean, some of them get more expensive, don't they? And at that point, I think you're looking for your rep to, or maybe your production company to pay the fees for you. That's an advantage of being with them. Yeah. I'm going to switch from you now, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Luciana, would you like to start talking so that you can come on and ask your question? Oh, and there are some other people I need to get back to, but Luciana, let's go with you.
With me?
Yes, hi.
Hi. I'm sorry if my internet goes. I'm an international executive producer from Landia, which is a production company that has offices in all Latin America and also in Spain and Portugal. And we really do look for directors all over the world. And also we go to many festivals. And I believe that, as I said in the chat, that you have to be really prepared when you go. For myself as a producer, I prepared like 2 months before. I try to see not only the judges, but also who attends, who is sharing this festival, so I can know them, contact them to start trying to set up a meeting there, or at least you start writing everybody that you are interested, just checking if they are attending to meet in person there. We go a lot to Cyclope. We have gone to 1.4. I really want to meet you in person as well. Cannes, of course. Young Directors Awards is very important because most of the production companies are looking at the directors there. Yes. But mainly those, and also UK MBAs and the other that Nicolas said, Camera Image, where you submitted and we won last year. And I believe that all I'm saying is that if you don't have a producer to go with you in the stage of meeting production companies from all over the world, commissioners or creatives, you have to be your own producer. And there's a lot of places where you can meet who is who. You have listings, you have people who can give you some advice. It's just what I'm humbly saying to you, directors, that you have to be your own producer for sure.
I think that's such great advice. In the UK, there's something called Shooting People, which is a filmmaker community. It only costs 36 quid, I think, for the year. And if you're a director, you could conceivably go in there and say, I'm a director looking for a producer to help me with my festival strategy, or to come to a festival with me, or whatever. So you can get friends to do that. But I that's so great, Luciana. That's what I do at conferences.
And sorry, just one thing that I believe in the last Zoom that you did, there were directors asking about personality.
Oh yeah.
Personality is not important. What is important is what you envision, your talent, and that's all. But when you have to go for contacts and festivals, you have to be not shy at all.
True.
Because you deserve it. You have to go for it. It's all I'm saying. Yeah. No one is going to look for you or try to bring you to the company if you don't show yourself.
True. Yeah. Be brave. Brilliant. Thank you. Someone's just said in comments, by the way, that if people don't know, Landia is one of the top production companies, which is your production company. So just so that people know that you've got a really wonderful. Are you a producer?
Yes, I look for directors all over for some global or local campaigns from our offices. But I'm a fan of directors. I love watching what's happening. So when I found you, I'm like addicted to the Zooms.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, we have a question from Dalton Scott. So Dalton, would you like to come on, start talking, and then you'll just magically appear to us all, if you're still here. Dalton. You just have to unmute yourself and start talking. And the rest does it itself. There
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, hi, thanks.
Apologies. I'm literally on a walk right now.
Oh, are you?
I don't have a camera on. My question was just around, instead of using festivals really to try and get talk to industry people around trying to use festivals more to build a personal brand. So reaching out to actual film goers, people who just enjoy film in general, and particularly enjoy the kind of genres that you create. Because especially a lot of people are making their films via crowdfunding and different platforms like that nowadays. And so a lot of the way you are successful with that sort of crowdfunding is if you already have an audience. So just if anybody's using festivals for that, and any tips.
Sorry, so you're asking for tips about what?
Using festivals instead of going to festivals specifically to try and win an award, instead of using them as a way to reach out to as many actual normal people who like the kind of films you make as possible instead.
Okay. Has anyone ever done that? Has anyone ever been to a film festival looking for people to team up with, or interested in a particular genre that might be your thing as well? Let's see if anything comes up in chat. It's a good question, Dalton. We'll see if something comes up in chat. Meanwhile, thanks for asking that. So if you've been to a festival for a reason other than winning an award, stick it in chat. And Alex, would you like to?
Sorry.
Oh,
no, because I wanted to say something, because there is, like, in my hometown, there is a really famous film festival. It's the second in Italy after Venice, is the Turin one. And I've been there a lot, even if I don't do fiction. So just to chat with the people, I think it's always a good idea. I mean, I think it's also, you can do both in a way. I mean, yeah, sometimes I wanted to ask if there is anyone else that has the same feeling as me. Like sometimes I found the people coming to festival, directors, too much pointing to the producers in a way that's almost, I mean, it's too much. I mean, that you can see that they're there just for that connection, like almost for just getting the job, which is good, but you can also connect with other people around you.
So are you saying that you find that the producers take over because they're all busy doing deals and trying to connect?
No, I find that sometimes the director have to, like, they put too much pressure into reaching for the people who can give them the job in a way. And sometimes sometimes when you're young, you also try to reach with someone who's also not your level at all, which is kind of pointless. Right. Sometimes it's better to connect with the people around you, or being a little bit, and also going for in a place also for pure interest. Sometimes I think it's good.
Yes, yeah. Some people have said that. Nadav has said, yes, I go to festivals all the time because I actually like watching shorts and films. Yeah, I go to Sheffield Doc Fest, and I'm not really, Shiny isn't really about docs, because 5 minutes doesn't get a lot of doc interest, but I just love going there. But anyway, that's me, not you. So Alex Barnes, hello. I was wondering, well, Alex, come on and say your question. Alex Barnes.
I was just wondering about when you've made a short film and you maybe like it yourself, you want to submit it to a festival. How do you know when it is kind of good enough to submit? Is it feedback you receive from other people, or is it something you feel yourself, or yeah, what kind of, when you've made your films that you've submitted, how do you know that they're worthy of submitting?
That's a great question. It ties back to Joe's point at the beginning of this Zoom, when he was saying he submits to film festivals to find out what people think about his work. So he kind of does it, jumps in and sees whether people like it or not. Kevork has said, can he answer you? Yeah, of course, Kevork, come on.
Hey guys.
Hey Kevork.
This is actually a very good question, because in a lot of ways all directors think, oh, is my work good enough? And I think the answer to that is, if you don't believe in your work, you should not do the job. If you believe in the work 100%, you should submit it, and that's it. I mean, I could like your work, but another 100 people might not like your work, and that's okay. I mean, you are your own boss. That's it. That's the explanation. I mean, that's the answer.
So that's getting back into this confidence issue, isn't it? So there you are. So you're a white fella there, Kvork, going, yeah, what could go wrong? Just get in there, which is great. I think that's such a great attitude. I suppose the question is what if you're not feeling like that? Which I guess that's what you're saying, Alex. But you're saying just go for it, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. If you start thinking about, shall I do it? I mean, come on, it's a super stressful job. If you are thinking constantly about that, you're gonna die super young.
Don't die young, Alex.
Is there something people have felt kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but like a kind of a tangible thing that you've all kind of felt when you've, or is it something someone else has said? Like, have people got enough like good feedback from other people?
Don't think about the feedback. Everybody's gonna have some kind of opinion about your work. It's you. You're the only person that knows what your work stands for.
Can I say one thing too afterwards?
Sure.
For Alex, yeah. Yeah, you just have to go through the motions, I think. Like what you said, if it's good enough, you just gotta, if you believe in it, like what Kvork said, just put it out there. Like I've submitted to hundreds, right? Hundreds of festivals, and one got back to me saying, oh, you're officially selected, right? For 1 year. And that feels good because you're like, all right, there's one festival out there that believes in my work. So you're not going to get that unless you do it, right? But you kind of have to have somewhat of a thick skin because you're going to get 100 no's to 1 yes. You know what I mean? So yeah, just do it. You got it.
I would just make the quick point, and I agree with everything that's been said 100%. I'm a big fan of test screenings, though. Like get some friends over, buy them a couple of drinks, get some pizza, sit down on the couch, let them watch the thing, talk about it, and you'll learn a lot from that. And maybe there's a couple little tweaks or cuts you might make before you send it out to the festivals. It's not a bad idea to do that. And if they respond positively, it might help your level of confidence and in putting it out there.
Fantastic suggestion there. That's
Thanks.
great, Joe. Sorry, Alex.
Oh, sorry, just saying thanks. Thanks for answering my question.